Hi everyone. We're starting week 4. When we ended week 3, we were a quarter of the way through the class. When we end week 4, we're a third of the way through the class. So the skills we're working on now are crucial. Like we're in the thick of things. We're writing our first paper. Your audience is the English department at MMCC. The reason we're doing this is I want you to have a real audience, and later in the semester they will be reading your papers, so they are a real audience. You're not writing just for me, you are writing for them as well. And to see their expectations, you can look at this rubric. The rubric has literally their expectations for an academic essay written out for you, and I have a video from a couple semesters ago explaining that rubric. So if you want to know about your audience and what they expect in these papers, this is where you find out. Okay, there are 2 things I want to do in this week's video. One is to talk about this paper some more and problematizing. You're picking anything to do with language. It can be about discourse communities. It can be about academic English and writing. It can be anything to do under that umbrella. I think it's a cool idea to get a hold of me and text me or email me. Most of you are emailing versus texting. Your call. Anyway, I think it's a great idea to get a hold of me so I can help you problematize once you pick out a topic. Several of you have already picked out yours. It's great, but I haven't heard from a lot of you. So anyway, you're picking out this problem, something to do with language, and then you're problematizing it. So I gave some suggestions in the last week's video, I believe. Language can make people feel left out. Languages can affect your identity. Trying to learn a new language can make you feel inadequate. Come up with some idea about language that everybody isn't talking about, that you think matters. After you have that idea, you want to dig into it. Why does it affect identity? Does it affect identity for everybody? Ask as many questions as you can to break it down. Now, you can come up with dozens of answers, and you're not going to have dozens of paragraphs. So after you have all these things that you want to say about it, pick the ones that will help you most show off your thinking, be able to use with sources, and will show some complexity. So for like identity, it can be hard to maintain one identity when you have to keep switching rules and languages. But is that completely a bad thing? In some ways, isn't it cool to keep growing, keep changing? If you're into that, I have another source for you. And that's one reason that it's cool to get a hold of me, is because I've read a lot of things that might work for you here, so I can suggest some sources for some of your subpoints if you want. But remember, the issue is not language is hard, and then reason number 1, reason number 2, reason number 3, reason number 4. No! You're not doing a report on something that's obvious. You're picking something that's problematic, and then you're picking at it some more. You're going to show that you can see things and explain things from your mind that everybody else doesn't necessarily see, and so that you can bring sources into it when you do. So that brings about the synthesis. Picking this topic is tough. I know that. It's the most important thing, really. At this point in college, we expect that you can write full sentences, and we expect that you can write paragraphs. Now, hey, I'm an old English teacher, so I know we're not all equal there. Sentencing, some of my best thinkers have some problem sentencing, and paragraphing can be tough. So yeah, I'm going to point out things and we're going to fix that too. But that's not the big important thing here. The big important thing is showing your thinking and integrating the sources. So that's why we've been doing all these synthesis paragraphs, practicing how to get the sources into your thinking, not just report what they say. Okay, I hope that helped. And if nothing else, you heard me say, please, 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 please get a hold of me if you have any questions. All right, so that's one thing I want to do this week. The second one is I want to literally show you this peer review workshop and how to do it. If you look here, you'll see it says initial post is due. that should say Wednesday. It's not spelled right. Due Wednesday, 6 by 6 p.m. So you can get full credit for this, or almost full credit. Not having a great essay. This is just doing it points. So it says it's worth 25 points. 5 points are for your questions on time. 14 points are for a full draft. 6 points are for feedback to others by the due date. And you only have to do two people. You only have to give feedback to 2 people. If you have time, please pay it forward. Read 3 people's. If you have time, read 4 people's. You could read 4 people's and only comment on 2 if you wanted. You could read 10 people's and only comment on 2 if you wanted. But it'd be really cool if you could comment to extra people. And always comment on people that have no replies first. Our goal is not to have one person with 10 people replying to them and 3 with no replies. Look for somebody who has no responses yet and reply to them first. We have to make sure everybody gets some feedback. So this is what you do. You hit add a new discussion topic. Then you're going to write, so you hit that add a new discussion topic. Then you go to here and Sally's sample. Okay, now I have to have at least 3 questions about my paper. What did you think of the thesis? What am I trying to say? Don't give them yes-no questions. If you give them yes-no questions, a lot of times they'll just answer you in yes-no, and that's not really going to help you. So try to give them questions that they have to dig into and give you some meat. Where is my synthesis best? Why? How could I make better synthesis throughout the essay? Okay, that's 2 questions. I know there's more than 2 questions there, but they're about 2 points. Do I stay tied to my thesis? Where do I get off topic? Okay, so I have my questions. You just got 5 points for that, just for putting your questions out there, even if you didn't have any essay done. Then, I'm picking out a sample essay because I will do anything to get you to read the samples. Please, please, please read the samples. I just put up this one. I'll show it to you in a second. I just put this one up in the actual Moodle too. But please read the sample. It's a fine sample. It's a good sample. Please read the sample. Study the sample. Okay, and then I post it to the forum. Now, if my essay was complete, I would have that 14 points. Complete means introduction, at least 4 body paragraphs, a conclusion, that means 6 paragraphs overall, and a works cited. So I would get those 14 points, and I have the questions. I have 19 points now. To get the other points, I just have to read other people's essays. So here's my suggestion. This is due by Wednesday. Write the paper now. But if you don't, I'm an old teacher. You can still put up questions even if you only have a few paragraphs written. You can get some point for those paragraphs written, and you can still respond to other people and get points for giving feedback. In the end, 6 points might matter to you. It might be the difference between your A and A minus, or your B and B plus. So this is just a way for you to get points for doing what you need to do in order to be writing this paper, get feedback, and make your paper better. The whole reason that we do peer feedback is to support the idea of writing in drafts, so we don't just write and be done. I don't know if I've shown you my tattoo yet. See, this is my tattoo. It says, "Error marks the place where learning begins." You're going to write this essay, and I will tell you, I have some good writers, but it's going to be flawed. You're going to have boo-boos in there. And that's great, because those boo-boos allow you to revise. You fix the boo-boos, you get better. We learn through making mistakes and cleaning up our own messes. Okay, that's a frame of reference, that's a belief I have. So the same is true in writing. Usually, expert writers don't write and then just hand it off, and they're done. Woo, yay, I'm great. That's not even what they do, and they're expert writers. They write, they send it out to people, they get feedback. They write again, they send it out, they get feedback. They write again. Now, you're not expert writers yet. So, logic would say you would need more revisions than the expert writers. And even they need multiple revisions. So it's not a bad thing to get revisions. It's an expected thing. In science, in labs, when you're doing science labs, there are certain steps you have to take and certain things you have to do. That's just expectation. It's not because you're bad at science that you have to do that. In math, in those formulas, you have to do things one step at a time. And it's not because you're bad at math. You have to be good at math to do that. Ditto for writing these papers. You're going to be doing it in steps. You write, you get feedback, you write again, you get feedback, you write again, you get feedback, you write again. Get feedback from as many places as you can. Get it from me. If you send me a draft, I will give you feedback before it's due, before it's graded. Send it to the WRC. It's free. They're there. They can give you feedback. Ask some extra people on here to give you feedback. Ask old English teachers to give you feedback. Ask your parents to give you feedback. Don't just change everything they all say. It's still your paper. You still have to own it. But do get their feedback so you can consider it and choose. They give you 5 things to work on. If you change 3 or even 2, it's 2 more than you had. So please remember, we're going to be doing this in stages. You have to have this posted by Wednesday. Give each other feedback as soon as you can. I would hope by Friday you'll have feedback to people so they can use that feedback in order to rewrite and turn it in for a grade. Okay, so back to our class. It's week 4. You're writing a paper. The tricky thing is finding a good topic and planning out what those body paragraphs are going to be. At least 2 of your paragraphs have to have 2 sources in them, because we have to have synthesis in the synthesis the synthesis assignment. There are 2 essays up here that you can check out. I strongly suggest you look at this one and study it. But there are 2 of them to look at before you start writing. Your peer review workshop is due on Wednesday by 6. Reply to the others by Friday. And get a hold of me if you need any help. All right, it's a long video, but there's a lot of stuff I wanted to cover. I hope it helped.